Students in the 1900s wore paper sun visor anti-distraction hats, designed to block out distractions and keep their attention on schoolwork. Donald J. Trump, 1973. Lawrence Welk talked to the audience at the Aragon Ballroom in Santa Monica, California in 1957. He was known as the world's coloured champion in death-defying feats of courage and skill. Bill Pickett was one of the first black cowboys to make a name for himself as a rodeo sensation. Edmund Kayat, a Lebanese businessman, carried an 85-pound wooden cross to protest the Berlin Wall in October 1961. People in western Belarus are getting fresh Soviet newspapers on September 17, 1937. On the first day the Red Army arrived, soldiers hand out Pravda newspapers to the people. Sandra Bullock for a photo shoot in 1995. A young lady in an emerald dress is posing on a couch. This was in 1908. It's an autochrome Lumiere in very good condition with great focus. This is a portrait of a Maori man. He has a tattoo on his face. A rocker is trying to kick over the scooter of a rival mod. This took place in England in July of 1964. Elvis, his father Vernon, and his grandmother Minnie May in 1959. The International Sweethearts of Rhythm. It was an all-female interracial swing band that toured the US during World War II. Some of the white members were arrested in the South for playing in a band that was supposedly for people of colour. This happened in 1943. Where the Ford Mach 1 lever car is going, it doesn't need roads. Shown at the Ford Rotunda in Dearborn, Michigan in 1959, the single-seat concept car scrapped wheels and touted a top speed of 500 miles per hour. A 12-year-old Christopher Walken, a budding actor, is making pie crust in his father's bakery. Linda Carter in the 1970s. Iggy Pop and the Stooges live in concert in Detroit, 1968. Ronald Reagan is wagging his hands and making faces at reporters who are at a dinner for the White House News Photographers Association on May 19, 1983. St. Petersburg City Telephone Station, 1905 to 1913. Hunting in Kilmessan, County Meath in 1900. Tuesday Weld, 1960s. A lady is having breakfast while on a Deutsche Lufthansa plane. This happened in 1928. Wiśniak's daughter, Mara, is posing in front of an election poster. It's of Hindenburg and Hitler, and it says, "Marshal and Corporal, fight with us for peace and equal rights." It's from Wilmersdorf, Berlin, in 1933. The photographer is Roman Wiśniak. Marlon Brando on the set of Julius Caesar, 1953. Security guards at a 1939 pro-Nazi rally by the German-American Bund struggle with a Jewish protester who rushed the stage to attack Speaker Fritz Julius Kuhn, leader of the Bund. The protester was 26-year-old plumber Isidor Greenbaum. Robert Benwast and his Delage 1500 in 1927. Watch out the aura. Elizabeth Hurley with her 80s punkadelic look. Paul McCartney, Pete Townshend and Robert Plant, 1979. September 13th, 1922. The Straw Hat Riot begins in New York City. A penguin is giving an interview to a correspondent in Antarctica, 1966. Germans from the Sudetenland are celebrating. They're celebrating after hearing the proclamation that Konrad Henlein demanded the Sudetenland join Germany. It happened in September 1938. Patricia Hearst in a bikini made from human hair, 1968. Alright, let's talk about the Titanic's dry dock. In 1912, the dry dock was a massive space. It was where the Titanic was constructed. The dock was incredibly long, measuring over 850 feet. It was also incredibly wide. This allowed for the ship's hull to be built. The dock was built specifically for the Olympic-class ships. Now let's fast forward to 2015. The dry dock still existed. It was being preserved as a historic site. The dock was used to see the Titanic. The dock was also empty, showing its size. The main portal of the Capelas Imperfeitas is in the monastery of Batalha, Portugal. In 1901, Theodore Roosevelt was sworn in as the 26th US President. Motorcycle chariot races in London, 1927. A portrait of a Kiowa Crow Native American mother, father, son and daughter. This was taken around the 1890s. The photograph was taken by H.G. Perry in South Dakota, USA. This is a men's fashion advertisement from the 1970s. We're looking at the Ainu people of northern Japan at the turn of the 20th century. Because of forced assimilation that started in the 18th century, there were only about 300 native Ainu speakers in 1966. Miss Black America. The first Miss Black America pageant took place in 1968 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The pageant was founded by J. Morris Anderson to provide a platform for black women to be recognised and celebrated, as they were excluded from the Miss America pageant. There's a flag-waving veteran of the Red Army. He's confronting an anti-communist protester in Moscow around 1990. Albert Einstein, Princeton, New Jersey, 1941. American Red Cross Refreshment Unit located on Fifth Avenue in New York, United States, sometime between 1914 and 1918. Mamoru Shigemitsu, the Japanese foreign minister, is standing in the center. He's next to his aide, Imperial Army General Yoshijiro Umezu. They're waiting to sign the official surrender documents on the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. The date is September 2nd, 1945. There's a circus, and the clown's name is Jimmy. He's holding a cigarette and some flowers, and it was taken in 1958. The Bowhead House in Edinburgh, Scotland, was built in the mid-1500s. It was demolished between 1878 and 1879. Emma Samms, 1988. Swim instructor, Toronto, 1908. They use a stick to test the student. The instructor pushes them underwater, which naturally causes panic. But if the swimmer doesn't fight it, they'll float back up on their back. A vintage pen with the time in a box from the 1980s. There's a statue of Pascal Lissouba, who used to be the president of Congo-Brazzaville, outside the country's parliament. This was in late 1997, after he was overthrown. Transporting draft beer in plastic bags, 1990, Kazan. Suffragettes with a flag, 1910. Rachel Weisz in 1997. Mussolini is giving the Roman salute in front of a statue of Augustus Caesar in 1935. Stop. Anyone who goes further will be shot. German soldiers during the Spartacus uprising in Berlin, January 1919. The Le Mans Road Race, 1953. Their conjoined twins, Mary and Violet Hilton. Young Barack Obama, 1960s. Welsh wrestler Adrian Street with his coal miner father, 1974. Robert Redford won for Best Director for Ordinary People at the 1981 Academy Awards. Berg Island Caterpillar ferry with a 24 horsepower engine, Devon, England, 1935. Kenneth Arnold, 1966, is showing an artist's vision of what he saw in 1947. This is considered the first modern UFO sighting. Children Playing in France, 1952. Alcazne, Petra, Jordan. This elaborate tomb is thought to have been carved out of a sandstone rock face in the 1st century AD. It's a school bus on the streets of Taiwan during the 1950s. Sliding on ice blocks, Paris, Place de la Concorde, 1938. There's a woman at a communist march in London in 1928. It's a single-room school in South Carolina in 1905. A back treatment with a bear, Romania, 1946. Museum staff are cleaning the skin of an elephant for display at the American Museum of Natural History in New York in June of 1933. Traditional clothes of dancers in the Kingdom of Thailand on the 24th of April 1952. The RMS Mauritania is in an American port, and it has dazzle camouflage. This was between 1917 and 1918. A woman sits with her pet cheetah over tea at the Bois de Boulogne Café in Paris in 1932. Young Dwight D. Eisenhower and his new wife Mamie, 1916. Marilyn Monroe, New York, 1955. A dental assistant is playing a gramophone to distract a patient from pain in 1922. Jimmy Stewart, the former movie star, is sworn in as a second lieutenant in the US Air Corps. Lieutenant E.L. Reed, the personnel officer of the West Coast Training Center at Moffett Field, California, did the honors. This happened on January 1st, 1941. Sean Connery and Harrison Ford on the set of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in 1989. Ike Sims from Atlanta, Georgia, who is 87 years old, has 11 sons in the service. That was between 1917 and 1918. Anti-Serbian propaganda from 1914 Austria. Elizabeth Hurley in 1989. The world's smallest tactical nuke, the W-54, a bomb that could fit in a man-portable carry case. The Special Atomic Demolition Munition, or SADM, was a covert nuclear weapons program developed by the United States Navy in the mid to late 1960s. The explosion of the atomic bomb from the Starfish Prime test lights up the night sky over Honolulu. It was 11 p.m. on July 8, 1962. A West German man lifted his son so he could see the other side of the Berlin Wall. A toaster with an Edison screw fitting from around 1909. Boy Sampson, the 14-year-old strongest boy in the world, is holding up a grown man on a motorcycle. This was around 1932. Eleanor Roosevelt is voting in Hyde Park, New York on November 3rd, 1936. This is Quentin Tarantino's high school yearbook photo. He's wearing a suit and he looks to be about 16 years old. Someone is testing a Nikon camera lens at a factory. This was in Tokyo in 1952. Frida Kahlo and Arturo Estrada are at an art exhibition in 1944. Walt Disney's shaking hands with actor Robert Taylor in 1938. This is a historic ethnographic portrait by photographer Edward S. Curtis. He's known for documenting Native American people in the early 20th century, and this was done in 1929. An electric mask to rejuvenate the face. It was 1976 when black students were protesting against the requirement to learn Afrikaans in schools. Charlie Chaplin with his daughters, Josephine and Victoria, in 1966. Workers are gathering abandoned chemical weapons that were manufactured by the Imperial Japanese Army. These were haphazardly left across China at the end of the war. The weapons were found in Herbling, Jilin Province, in northeast China. This happened in May 1996. There's an autochrome of a Dahomey nobleman smoking a pipe with other men and children. This was taken on the 18th of April 1930. Emily Frankel and Mark Ryder, dancers from New York from the early 1950s. In 1990, action stars Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were photographed waltzing together in Cannes, France. Oskar Schindler meets Jewish survivors in 1962. Schindler was a German industrialist. He saved nearly 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust by giving them jobs in his factories in Poland and Czechoslovakia. Robin Williams, wearing a purple beret, hails a taxi. This was in New York in 1979. A dressmaking class from the London County Council is having a fashion parade to show their friends and family what they've learned. Naomi Campbell, 1989. Charles Chaplin acts in a tragedy in the film The Gold Rush, 1925. It's 1963, and the Beatles and Jerry and the Pacemakers are fighting over Louise Corday. August 24th, 1997, a week before her death, Princess Diana. Seven-year-old Mavis Hughes is arriving for Thanksgiving service at St Mary Magdalene Church on Old Kent Road, London, in 1951. A group of punks are in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1983. Linda Blair is shown with a stuffed Tigger doll is from about 1976. Angry Indonesians burned cars and looted Chinese shops in Jakarta on May 14, 1998. School children are eagerly awaiting their lunches. The government provided them free of charge for all students. This happened in Abadan, Iran, during the 1970s. Young George Clooney with his older sister Ada in 1965. Ted Bundy's mother, Louise Bundy, is talking to him before his death in 1989. She refused to believe what he did until the end. New York street kids, early 1900s. The last two-seater version of the Wrightcraft microcar with a 12-horsepower engine, 1940. Robert Plant is signing the first Zeppelin album for a policeman in the early 80s. These water guns were from 1996. Folks in a turf house in Drenthe, Netherlands, 1936. A turf hut was usually built in peat bogs as a temporary shelter. This is where the poorest people lived. The University of Montana, 150 years apart. The papal crown, or tiara, was placed on a pope's head for the last time in 1963. Paul VI was the last pope to undergo a coronation. A wedding was happening in Paris in 1930. The bride, wearing a long white dress and veil, is standing in front of the altar. The groom, in a dark suit, is beside her. A few people are in attendance. There's a flower girl holding a basket of flowers. The reception is in a large room. There are tables with white tablecloths and floral centerpieces. Guests are seated at the tables and some are dancing. Bill Clinton's cat, Socks, sits at the presidential desk in the Oval Office at the White House. The date is July 1st, 1994. A Palestinian Christian was photographed during protests against Israeli occupation at Bethlehem in 1988.